No, you all will be receiving the recording soon, I guess, by tonight or tomorrow morning. So don't worry about that. So let me first introduce myself. Okay, let's start. Leave it. So my name is Shubham Prince. Okay, so I'm from GDSC Geetham, Vizag, and I'm from Android app development team. So I'll be taking this session. It's the first one to go with this session, and then this session will be switched to Vedant. Let's understand things today. So our learning objectives include how to navigate between screens and introduction to the navigation component. Okay, so you can just okay. But before jumping into this navigation thing, I will start with something which is known as collection in Kotlin. Okay, so what really collection means? If anyone is familiar with Java or any other programming language, they might have known that collection is some kind of framework. Okay, so it is like a group of related items. If we are talking about collection, we can say it as a group of related items. So a collection is nothing but a group of related items. Okay, let's first start with these collections. Okay, so it is we are talking about collection. So what really collection is? When we work with collection, it really means that let's take some of the objects together. Okay, we have some of the objects together, and what we're gonna group it into a single unit. For example, sets. Okay, let's take an example of set. So the collection can have different items. Okay, it might be in an ordered way or an unordered way. So let's understand what basically collection is and how we are going to work with it. So there are two types of we will talk about list and sets here. Okay, the two of them. So let's talk about list. In Kotlin, how to create a list. If we have to create a list, in our previous session, we have told you how to create a variable using the val keyword, and then whatever, say num. If we have to create, means I'm trying to create a list of numbers. Okay, so thing is, this is a list of numbers. Okay, so before we can go to all this intents and all and how to jump from one activity to another, we will rather focus on how to create a list, because we have to make sure that intent is not just moving one from one activity to another. We will come across to some scenario where move data from one activity to another activity as well. So let's first work out with this list. So I have created a variables num, and it is val. There are two types of, as we know, there are two types of keywords for creation of a variable. One is val and another is var. So val once initialized cannot be reinitialized, and var is some when you're creating a variable using var keyword, then you once initialize it can be reinitialized. That's the difference. Okay. So I want to create a list. So what will be the function? So it is list of. You can see the method, the naming, how we name a method. Okay, so every criteria of naming a method is given in similar to any programming language. It may be Java, C or C++, doesn't matter. So it starts with a lowercase, and then when we are adding two different words, then we have to make sure that is from lower to upper. Okay, so it's the camel case thing. Now let's add some of the values. So it is a function, so it will have the braces, and we can add some values in 5, 7, 9, or let's say 45 or whatever. Okay, so this is my, as you, without changing the line, and print ln for same as printing on a single line. Okay, now if you want to print this list, okay, list of numbers, I can say as the command. So list of numbers, and now I want to print the list inside it. So you might be familiar with it, this dollar and now dollar and curly braces. If you want to concatenate the comment in the println function, that is list of numbers is my comment which will be coming out, and this dollar and curly braces will contain the variable which we are going to print. Screen is not visible. Hello?
It's visible.
Someone is messaging screen is not visible. Okay, let's go. Okay, so what will I do? I will use the variable name num. Okay, so I have used the variable name num. Let's try what happens when I run this code. So I have run this code and I can see the output list of numbers, and that is 57945. So this is how we can create a list. Let's this just jumble up. I'll just jumble it up. So I'll find 10 and then 60 goes 5. Sorry, 5 is there. It still doesn't matter because it's list. I can have the same value. The value can be repeated. It's not set. It's list. So there can exist more than one value. Okay, same value, more than once. Okay, let's go. So 3, 8, 5 or 13. Now what will I do is I want to sort it. Okay, because it is a list of unsorted elements, what will I do is I will sort it. So there is one more function. Okay, basically any programming language has this motto to make any function much more readable and compact so that any user can understand by using the name. For example, here I want to sort it, so it will be sorted. Okay, sorted method. So how will I use it? Okay, so how will I sort it? Let's try it. Okay, I'll just do is I will print ln. Again I will print ln, but now the sorted list. Okay, sorted list of numbers. Okay, the sorted list of numbers. Again our dollar and then this curly braces. Okay, sorry, it's out. Dollar and curly braces. Now what will I do is I will just sort it. So the function means the variable name where the list is stored, that was num. Then dot sorted, that is our function. Let's see what happens when I sort this. Okay, when I'm using this function, what really happens? So we can see that the value is sorted. The values are all sorted. Now you can see that after 3 there are 2, 5. So just because we are working with list, we don't have to work about this. We don't have to worry about this duplicate values. Okay. Now what we can do is from this list we can create sets. Now what really set is? So in mathematics we already know what is set. It is a type of collection where the group of elements are related. Okay, the items are related, but the difference is unlike list, what we can do is what really the set will contain is there will be no duplicate values. Like in set we have 5 and 5, but sorry, in list we have 5 and 5. Let's which stores the list, our existing list, into a set. So how will I do is let's create a variable again. Okay, and I can say set num. Okay, set of num, set nums or whatever. Okay, whatever the variable name you want. Now again I will use the variable name that is num dot, and I have to convert it into set. So generally speaking, to set, it will be our function to set. Simple as that. So now I can print it and check what is our set, and you will realize that all this duplicate values are now go. See, set, and then which is set now. Okay, fine. Let's see. Let's run it. Okay, see, there is no duplicate values. 5 is already gone, and the values are all shuffled. No issue with this. See, 5, 10, 60, 45, 3, 8, 30. Enough. No duplicate. What we can do is we can create two types of sets. You might be familiar with the word mutable and immutable. Okay, so the mutables means immutables are those whose value cannot be changed, and mutable are those whose value can be changed. Okay, depend upon what we want to do. 3 is also gone. 3 is also gone. No, 3 is there. 3 is there. 3 was not in duplicate, so it's there. It won't go. Okay, let's create two types of set. Val, again, one keyword. See, make sure when you're working with val and var, this is two different ways to create a variable, and it might be confusing at sometimes when to use val and when to use var. Simple logic says, okay, use val when you don't have to reinitialize the variable, and use var when you are going to reinitialize the variable. So most probably we use val when it is of we are using this we're creating a variable which will be a part of function. Okay, the parameters basically. Let's go. Okay, so set 1 or whatever this. Not name is not nice. Okay, I'll say mute set. Okay, mute set. Okay, and then similar. So mute set off. Okay, this similar to this list of, it is set off 1 7 10 12 14. Okay, now this is val and now mutable set. Okay, so set, now it is mutable set, so we will be writing mutable set off. See the camel case, you have to make sure that you follow this camel case, and it will be very easy to understand each and every function which we come across in Kotlin. Okay, so let's say it says 4 8 10 7. Okay, now we can do is, so we can just print it. Okay, and we can perform equality operations and all. So I will not be, okay, I will use the example, that will be fine. Okay, that's okay. So the same thing, just copy it and paste it. Paste set num set. Okay, same as that, run it, go with, we have mute set, that is 4 8 10. Okay, so make sure that you remember all this function is very easy, and you will be coming across that while working with your application which you will be building. So okay, let's go with something which is of Boolean type. Okay, so what we can do is we can compare these two values and check if the value is true or not. For example, check for the equivalency. Okay, if these two sets are equivalent or not. Okay, the set 1 7 10 14 and 4 8 10, we can see it is not equivalent, means they are not equal basically. So let's see. Okay, we'll try to check. Okay, check, and again dollar and now. So we have relational operators and all, equal, equals, greater than equals, less than equals, not equals. Okay, so we'll be I'll operator. Okay, so it's in mute set mute set equals mute set. Okay, so these are the things which you will find in your unit as well. When you are working with your, see, it's, the answer is false. So when you are going through the units, you will find them. Okay, so I wanted to give you a walkthrough of how this values will be used, how you can create, and how you can work with the collections and all. Okay, now why are we really interested in collections? Okay, till now I don't know if you have gone through our previous units and all, and you have practiced something, so you will come across some of the loops. Okay, for example, in this collection, if you want to access values of collection, we will be working with for each loop. Okay, so we will be working with for each loop. Means for each loop is example of it comes even in Java. When you are working with Java, it's there is itself as well. Section will be working with for each loop. Okay, so how it works? Okay, let's focus on it, and let's go. Fine, connection is fine. Okay, fine. let's before going before learning forage, I have one more thing, that is our maps. Okay, in collection we have maps as well. So what really maps is? Uh, most of you might be familiar with it, but let's understand what map is. Okay, map is also known as dictionary. Okay, so what map is? We are going to create what? Key value pair. Key value pair. For example, if I talk about animals or whatever, okay, animals. So take animals as our key, and we have some values. Say, okay, dog. Okay, dogs are there, cats, whatever. We'll go with snake. Okay, fine. So this is what. So while we are working with maps or dictionary, we have to focus on key value pairs and design to make it easy and look up on the particular thing. Let's just move on to our intent thing. Okay, it's fine. When you will read them, you will understand. Even though I won't have to get deep into all these concepts right now, I have to focus on activities and intent. So let's dive into this. Okay, let's follow activities and intents. Uh, let's just talk about this navigation thing. So what really navigation is? In Android, when we are talking about navigation, it means we are talking about intents. Okay. Now, what really intent is? It is also example of a class in Android. Okay. What we are going to do is we are going to slide from one activity to another. Okay. I might be having some example here. Okay. So let's just take an example. Okay. What we are going to do is we are going to create start with a new activity. Hopefully you all have installed this Android Studio. Okay, so we'll be working with I'm trying to create a new project, and it will be great if I'm working with empty activity. Okay, so empty activity is the best thing. What you can do is, okay, or you can go with basic activity, but I will say work with empty activity. Always start from scratch. Let's go. So name whatever you want. This all things package name. When you are going to upload it on Play Store, your application, you should change this. You don't have to use this example form.example. Use whatever company name or whatever you are going to add, your name as well, no issue. So our language is Kotlin, and I'm using 21. Okay, API 21. Okay, so to choose API, there are certain percentage which it says 98.0% devices are on these 98.0% devices can work, means this application can work on them. Okay, the more you increase the API level, the less the lesser the device will be. Okay, see, it becomes 85.6. Okay, I'll be going with 5.0, the best one. No issue with it. You can choose any API level. Okay. Now I have to do nothing. No need of a legacy Android.support libraries. I just create it. Okay, just create it. Okay, so my Gradle is syncing. So can you see my Android Studio? Hello, is it visible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just dive in. Okay, so make sure when you are working with your Android Studios, make sure to use internet. Okay, it's too hectic while it's downloading all the setting files and Gradle while building Gradle. Okay, if you are not using internet, you will be going through a lot of trouble. Okay, you'll be facing a lot of trouble. So you can see, I think the internet is slow or somewhat. That's why it's taking time. Okay, no issue with that. Well, focus on our rest of the thing. Okay. I'll take an example right now. Okay, until and unless it gets created. Okay, let's go. I'll upgrade it later on. Okay, so for example, we'll take. So if you are not good with XML, if you feel it boring, you can directly use our constant layout and just drag and drop here. Okay, drag the objects, drop here. Okay, make sure that every component has some parent. Okay, every component must have some parent. You can see here there is a parent end of parent. the horizontal bias, all these things, it will automatically be added while you're doing all this drag and drop. See, for example, I take this text and I'm taking this plain text, I'm dropping it here. You can see the line appears. I'll just zoom it. Okay, the line appears. Now what I have to do is I have to make sure that it does not flow while compiling. Okay, so means while we are running our application, it does not flow here and there. It means x-axis and y-axis. Okay, now it is in the center. Now I will choose the parent as role, means this button, and then I will drag it to some certain distance, say 76. Okay, so what? Okay. So this is what. Now you can see that the code is automatically added. You see, split this text. And one more thing, did I add coded and all and all? Okay, I'll show you one thing. It will come in handy while working with constant layout. I know there are some of the errors which you will face while working with it. For example, if I'm taking this plain text, okay, and I'm dragging it here, while you're creating your, what do you say, form filling, okay, an activity which will take name, address, whatever, okay, the first page or whatever. See, you can see there is a red icon visible here. Okay, there will be a red icon visible here. Okay, see, it's saying touch target is size is too small. It's not the error I'm talking about. Okay, see, as soon as I click this, some of the error just got vanished. Okay, now it has all the right properties to stay on the screen while you are running it. It has all the right properties to stay on the screen. Okay, see, I didn't do anything. For this one, this text, I did everything, but for this one, I did nothing. I just used that was fine. So remember this, whenever you are working with XML and designing thing, use this one. Okay, while working with constant layout, you will have less error and you will never see any of your widgets traveling to America. Okay, so let's go with something else. I think the previous project is deleted or not. Okay, it is here. Okay, let's go. Close this one. So we have this file, main activity, in the Java one. Now in resource, we will have our drawables. You know, drawable will contain all the images, file images, icons, everything. Okay, so this now layouts. This is where we work. Okay, this is the layout we will be working on. You can either work in the split the split one or the design one. Directly you can drag and drop and you can work here. Okay, now what we are going to do is, for example, this is our single one activity. You can see there is one single activity. What I will do is I will just add one more activity. I will go in new and then I'll just say this activity, and then I will say empty activity. Okay, I'll create one more activity now. So this is activity 2. You can say okay, the name is done. So okay, so I have 2 activities right now. One is activity homepage and the main activity. Okay, I will not go deeper into the manifest and all. Okay, I'll just focus on this, how to switch from one activity to another activity. Okay, so what will I do is I want some drawables. Okay, I want some drawables. I'll use some images. Okay, say images, background images for back images. Okay, let's something welcome fine. Welcome background images. Go with anyone, doesn't matter. I'll be using it as a drawable. Now let's go and download it. See, the image is huge, and you will see what happens when I'm running it on our AVD. Okay, you can use your phones. I prefer phones, but it's fine. Okay, save images, fine. Downloads, fine. Welcome page. Now let's see how to add drawables. It will be handy if you do this. Okay, how to add drawables. I'll just do this. Okay, how to add drawables. So we have this folder here. Okay, and what we have downloaded is this image. we can directly drag it here and see the way I'm doing it. Done. Okay, and then refactor it. Okay, refactor it. See, we have the image. So we have the image here. Okay, now for the home page, I will do nothing. I will just add the XML file in XML page. I will just add the background. So I'll go in the code and then here add background. Okay, background, and then what was that? Home. Sorry, no, it was welcome. Okay, welcome image, welcome page. Now let's see what happens. See the design. See, this is our welcome image. It's too shady. I don't have to work about all the properties. Okay, shades and all. That's fine. It's fine. So now we have the main activity. This is main activity, which is having some background, and I will create a. What I will do is I will create a button there. Okay, so click it and move to the second page. Okay, so the second. To work with it. Just go design, and we have the buttons. Okay, buttons are here. So good. So what will I do? I'll just center it. It's welcome there, leave it. Okay, it's just an example. Don't say my design is so horrible. Okay, it's just an example. Okay, so fine. What I'll do is I'll just, even I can use my magic wand. I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so fine. Center, and then I'll drag it. Okay, fine. So we have the button here, and you can see there is this yellow thing says that there is hard-coded text there. So what we have to do is we will go into the values, and then I will go to this string.xml file, and I will create something here. Okay, a string value. Okay, I'll create a string value, and I'll say it is our intent click. Okay, intent click. Fine, intent click. To home page. That's it. To home page. Okay, fine. Now what will I do is I'll again go back here, and then I'll change the text here. Okay, the error will be gone. Okay, intent. Okay, intent click. That's what. Okay, yeah, fine. This is what I can change the font size. Okay, font size and families there. Sorry. Okay. I'll text size and we'll make it as, let it be, because as a text will go with SP. Okay, 30 SP. Fine. Okay, so I have a bigger image now. Let's see. It's horrible, but it's fine. Leave it. Okay. To home page. Fine. Okay, let's go. So I have this first page, and I have to move to the next page. Okay. Now the main concepts include, before I can do all these things. Okay, to move from one activity to another activity, I have to just focus on intents basically. And there are still more concepts, but let's just focus on intents, and then I can hand it over to my friend, and he will take on to more concepts which we have thought of teaching you all. Okay, let's go. So there are two types of intents. When we talk about intents, there are two types of intent. One will be the implicit, and then the another will be explicit. Okay. Now in implicit, what we are going to do is when we are presenting some activities, okay, from another app or some system feature, okay, then it is implicit. For example, let's talk about you have an application, and there is a page. It says contact us, and there is an email ID, and you click on it, and there comes pop-up saying choose your email application. Okay, Gmail or whatever, and you choose it. That's what implicit and explicit here means. Okay, so implicit, that's what implicit here is. Okay, now for explicit, we are going to describe some request. Okay, and then there will be some result, though it has some of the components which are mixed in implicit and explicit. We can discuss it later on, and when you will go with the unit, you will understand them. Okay, so in explicit, we generally own them. Okay, we generally own them. We are the one who is going to create it. Okay, now before we can create before we can set up the our explicit, let's talk about intent, because we are going to move from this activity to the home page, isn't it? So what we are going to do is we'll just set up the intent. So before setting up the intent, we have to add property, and that property is set on click listener. Okay. See, this button which we have made here, the button here. Okay. This button. Okay. We have to add what? On click listener. Okay. Okay. So here we are going to add this on click listener so that we can start another activity. Means it will translate to the next activity, move from one activity to another activity. Some set on click listener to this specific. That's this one. Okay. Let's understand this portion. Okay. So what we will be doing is we will be creating intent. Okay. It's just the rough intent. Okay. I'm just giving an example. Again, intent variable is created. Now intent is our class. Okay. You can see in the drop down list there is an intent, and then we will do intent. Fine. This stands for, it is saying that the current object, we are placing intent on the current object. Okay. And now how we are moving from one page to another. Okay. So which activity we are working on? We are working on currently we are working on the main activity, and we have to move to the home activity. So home page. Okay. Fine. Class and fine. Okay. So this is how we. It's something terrible. Okay, fine. Okay. And we can add some extra method, leave it right now. It's fine. So this is how we create intent. And intent is our class, which we will be using. Now let's understand each and everything. Okay. First, this. It is the package context. Okay. We are telling that listen, add this intent to the current existing object. And what will happen when you add this intent to the current specific object? And when the user clicks, it moves to another class. Okay, the another activity which is connected to this class, this specific Kotlin class, that is your home page. Okay, the wrong page. So I stopped it right here. So I have this main activity, and I have already told you what this intent is. I have created a intent variable. Okay, and then this intent class. And the first one, you can write it as this or the application context, doesn't matter. This to say this is the object which will be which intent is going to use, and this is where we want to land, that is home page. Okay, home page class.java. Make sure that you write this class.java. Don't use XML. Okay? You don't have to land to that. We have to land to the code part. Okay, now one more thing. You can see here, before I can place this set on, I told you that I will be setting a on click listener to a button. Okay, so I have created a button variable. So you will be thinking what this is all about. So I will just make it quick, and you can see when I was creating this button, there was an ID here. See, ID is button. Now this button ID, if you want to link your XML to the Kotlin file, the coding part, you have to make sure that it recognizes it. So how will you recognize it? You have to use this find view by ID, this function, find view by ID. Now, before I can put this, before I can add this button from XML to the coding part, means in this Kotlin file, using find view by ID and then adding r.id.button, I have to keep it somewhere. So I'm creating a variable known as variable in Kotlin. Remember, we used to create this way. Okay, val something says to or means whatever name equals whatever. Okay, so what happens is that Kotlin understands that this is of string type, but when we are creating all these buttons and all, we have to make sure that we tell it that you are going to use a button type. So I'm using class C and I was creating a button variable. I have to make sure that to tell it that this is of type button. So I will take this and button. Okay. It is similar if I'm talking about this. So val name equals is equivalent to val name string. Okay. And okay. So this is what. So make sure to use this one. Okay. This type. Tell them what kind of variable it is. So it is a button and this of button class, and then find view by ID button. Now dot set on click listed. So button dot set on click listed. Okay, and then the intent which I have already told you, and this function start activity. When you have done this, you are done with this, you will get this application. See, I'll just it's starting. Okay, see, this is my first page. Okay, and this is I'm going to land to the home page, and when I click it, it just comes back here. See, this is how we are going to use intent and switch from one activity to another. Okay, let's talk about activity lifecycle. Okay, this is the most important part. Okay, any program, any programming language we are talking about, even in Java there was AWT packages and all. Each and every program has some life cycle. Okay, from basic IT knowledge, if I are talking about what are there? Yeah. Okay, I forgot. Leave it. So we will be talking about life cycle. So every Android activity has some life cycle. Okay, every activity has some life cycle, and it is controlled by basically 7 methods. Okay, it has 7 methods. Okay, so it has 7 methods. Total seven methods are there. Okay, so there are total 7 methods. Now every life cycle, whenever an activity is launched, once activity is launched for an application, when an activity is launched, whenever an activity is launched, the program start with on create. This one is that on create. See this one. This is the first one. Okay. So whenever an activity is launched, on create is the first method which will be coming into life. Okay. And once it has reached to this moment, it will follow some of the certain life cycles part. Okay. So whenever first, just understand, on create is when you create the first activity. Whenever an activity comes into life, it means whenever you just open application and you see, for example, Amazon, you see the splash screen. This is when on create is working. It comes into its own life for that splash screen activity. Now then comes on start. Okay, on start. Okay, on start. Remember this, on start. Now when activity becomes visible to the user, this on start method is seen. Okay, means as soon as you see this splash screen, or for example sign in page, now you have moved from on create to on start. So when you click the application icon, you activate this method, that is on create. And when that application's first page or the first activity is visible, then you move from on create to on start. Okay, you can understand on create is like creating an instance of object. So say, for I'm using the word object, but it's not basically object, but just an example. Okay, for object. Now when we are talking about on resume, what happens is that, for example, say you are going to pay some amount, you are buying something from Amazon, and now you're choosing some merchant from where you're going to pay, for example PhonePe. Okay, and you have an option there. You have certain option, UPI, this, and you choose PhonePe. So when you click on phone, let's talk about on pause, then I can make it clear. Okay, on pause. So as soon as you click PhonePe, the application, you switch from Amazon application to the PhonePe application. Now it's to the PhonePe. Now Amazon application is on pause. Okay, it is still on pause. Its life cycle is not ended yet. It's not dead. It's there in on pause. Okay, you can see you just you can see it in your history. Okay, just use it and you can see it, it's still there in the history. So when on resume, if I talk about on resume, if you come back and start working back to this means Amazon. Okay, once you have made the payment and you come back to Amazon, you come and work with the method on resume. Okay, because you have finally landed back to the page where you were working. Then comes on stop. Okay, when you have you don't have to use the activity any longer. For example, I have given you example that I will be switching from main activity to home home page. Okay, so for example, when I press back, I don't want that this page comes again. This main page comes again. Main page can be splash screen where the logo is seen. Okay, so I don't want that when I press back key, it comes to this. Okay, so there is still one more means intent functionality. There are more means one. There are means constant values which we will be using later on when we start activity. There is a function start activity where we pass our intent and the activity starts. So what happens is that we stop that application. Okay, means stop that activity. Okay, so it is called when activity is no longer visible to the user. We are not interacting with that specific activity. Okay, now when on start is used. Okay, on start is not that much means you cannot see day to day, but let's go on. It is called after your activity is stopped. Prior to start, before starting, it gets stopped. For example, there is some error or whatever, you have not turned on your internet and you try to jump onto an app. Thumb for security purposes, and you just touch here and there and it goes back. Okay, that's what. Now on destroy, this is the final stage. Okay, in this stage the activity is completely destroyed. Okay, see, it is means I know I'm not using some kind of value which might be something. Wait. What I can do is, okay, 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 let's go. These whatever I was teaching you, it is available there in Android one. Okay, but I will just show you an example what I'm speaking. It will be easy for you. Okay, Android life cycle. Okay, life cycle, the 7 life cycles. I see Geeks for Geeks is there.
You can open the course content. They have given the examples in there as like the first unit only, like first pathway.
The first part means it was there, no?
First pathway. It is in the pathway. Like they have given examples.
Yeah. Okay. So when you go with the path, you will see it. It's there. Okay. This activity life cycle. You can see the image here. How it start. Activities launched, then on create, on start, on resume. Okay. Activities running, then activities paused, on stop, destroyed, and activity shuts down. Okay. You, on stop, you can means willingly means any user can remove that application from the memory and it gets killed. Okay. That's on start. Okay, if you have paused the application for some times and then again you want to go back, you see on pause, from moving from one application to another application, rises this on pause method, and then when you come back to the same application, you comes to the on resume. Okay, so these life cycle, this life cycle is very much important, because you might have seen that whenever you are switching from one application to another, and when you come back to that application, you are playing PUBG and you come back to the same application, you can see that specific activity is still there. It is not dead, and you can still interact with it. Okay, understand what these things are, and till then Vedant will be taking on, and then I will be creating that intent, and at the end of the Q&A session I can show it to you. Okay.
Okay, so first of all, I'll just introduce myself. I am Vedant Bhambre. I am the app developer at GDS CSI SGST, and I'm a third year computer student. So I'll be talking about architecture components, what is view model, what is live data, and I'll also be talking about navigation and backstack of navigation. So before that, I'll talk more about life cycle, just what Shubham just took. So yeah, so as I said, there are 7 types of methods that on in life cycle, which are called on create, on restart, on start, on resume, on pause, on stop, and on restore. So I'll just give you what happens on device rotation, like whenever you change the rotation of your screen, which methods are called. So in this example, whenever you would be doing this unit, please go through it thoroughly because they have explained it in very nice manner. So they have added log statements in each of the methods. So on create, this log statement is added that on create was called. Similarly, in on start, this log statement is added, and in all other methods also similar log statements are added. So you can view that which method is being called whenever you do some changes in your app. So according to that, whenever you would rotate your screen, these are the methods that are called. So whenever app is launched first time, on create is called, then on start is called, and then on resume is called. On start and on create and on resume are called. And whenever you rotate the screen, these methods would be called. It would be first pause, then it would go stop, it would be destroyed, and it would be created once again. So basically, whenever you rotate a screen of your app, it basically this whole screen is recomposed. So it is that whole main activity code is rerun, and your whole activity is built again freshly. So this is the main problem of the what we say life cycle. So this is where architecture components are introduced. So yeah, so talking about these are the things I would be teaching about. So view model, live data, and I'll be taking you through this example app that is in the course as well. And the next pathway 4 is about shared view model, navigation backstack, and a little bit about unit testing. So let's get started. And yeah, so why exactly we need a view model, right? So I just explained you that during life cycle changes, like if you rotate your app, then the whole activity is recomposed. So I'll just show you an example, like exactly what happens. So this is my phone. As you can see, I don't use emulator because it takes too much RAM. So I have directly connected my phone, and you can see. So this is the app you will be building in your course cut as well. So this is a simple unscramble game. You have been given some words and unscrambled words, and you have to uh, unscramble them. Scrambled words have been given, and you have to unscramble them and find the right word. So there is one more problem in this app currently. If you just keep pressing the submit button, it doesn't check whether you have given the right answer or have you even given the answer. It just keeps on increasing the score. So that is also the issue that you have to fix while developing this app. So currently, I'll just show example that uh, consider that you have scored this much, like 260 is your score, and suddenly your auto rotate is on and you tilted your phone. So just view what happens. As you can see, your phone got tilted and all your progress is lost. Like score is 0, words are also 0. So this is what happens. What I said in during life cycle changes, that your whole view is recomposed. So on create method was called, whole code was rerun. So everything, all the data has been gone, and it is the whole activity is recomposed, and so everything is set to default like what it was before starting. So it has all gone to 0. So just imagine that you are playing a game and your progress just lost because you rotated your phone. You would be giving a very bad feedback to that company, and so it wouldn't be nice. So as a developer, you have to consider this, and you have to write some code that to tackle this issue. So here where view model comes in. So what view model is basically is like whatever changes. So this is the UI code, right? So I'll just show you. So this is the app. You will be given it in your GitHub, like in your course content as well. So this is the fragment in which your code is there related to this is your UI code. This is where you are assigning all the values to your UI content. So yeah, so this is the UI content, and this is where view model comes in. So whatever values that you want to keep as it is, like on changing the default configuration of your screen, those values should be initialized in view model. View model, it is only initialized once, like whenever you would start an activity, so start a fragment or start a screen. So this has been started, and this has been created. View model is created, and it would be only called once. Whenever you would again change the configuration or change something, or like rotate your phone, this won't be created once again. It would be only called once again. So it doesn't create again, and the data is stored what was there before rotating the screen. So that is why view models are. So whatever content you want to keep constant, like consistency, before and after changing that, those data values have been uh, assigned over here in view model. So as you can see, score, we want to keep it same. We don't want to lose score. We don't want to lose the current word count, and we don't want to lose the current word that was given for unscrambling as well. So these are the values that we want to keep constant on changing configuration as well. So these are the values we define in view model. So how you write this is the boilerplate code. So what exactly you need to write while writing your code for view model. So it is a class, and you would give any name, like whatever specific name you have to. It is basically like if it is game view fragment, then we would give the name of game view model, and you have to define its type, that is view model. And yeah, inside this, all the data that you have to store, that is being initialized. So as you can see here, there are two types of initialization. Here it is private var underscore score is equal to 0, and there is one more, that is val score is equal to an int, like data type it's int, and it is getting the value of underscore score. So what it is basically. So there is a thing called as backing. So these are the so consider that I am in this app, and this is fragment, and we don't want this values to be like changed or mutated in the fragment code, like in the UI file. Okay, so this is what called the fragment and activities are called as UI files, and these are what called as data files. So because data is stored here, and these are related to UI only. So we don't want to change the values of data through the UI files, or through we don't want to change anything from the UI file. So basically what we do here, this private var underscore score. So this is the value that we change inside view model. You can see here. This is the this is private only to this class, and it will be only called here only. So we can only read it through here. So whatever changes we would do, it would be done through here. As you can see, yeah, you can change the score value over here. We initialize it, a current word value, and everything like that. And whenever you would be giving, like whenever we want to read this value, we have defined another variable, that is scope, and it is like that is getter and setters there are. So it would only getting, like whenever this score would be called, we would get the value of underscore score. So we would be changing this variable, and this variable will be only used in view access mode, or like only read only mode. So that is what backing is called. Backing, the concept of backing is we only keep the what we say mutations or addition of the data only in view model itself, and in other classes we only give read access. That is what packing is. Yeah, this is how you write the code for view model. Coming next, how you call the view model, like you have created view model now, but you want to use it in your fragment or in your activity. So this is the line that we write. It is called as delegate. You will be learning more about it in the definitions are given in code. So this is how you initialize the view model. So private view model, that is the variable name, and its type would be the view model that you created. So I created game view model there, so its type is game view model, and by view model. So this is the method that is been provided by Android itself. So it will know that this is a view model and this should be called only once when the activity is created. And whenever next time there would be configuration changes, it would be only called once again, it won't be created again. So it only gets created one time, and then it would be only called again whenever you rotate your app or app goes in the back screen or something. And this is how you read the values. These are the same variables that we defined here: score, current word count, current scramble word. So these are the values, and you would be like, if you want to read those values, so this is how you read it. So val score would be stored. The value of score would be stored in the view model dot score. That kind of thing. So I hope you have understood what is view model. I'll be talking more about its life cycle, like how view models life cycle is. Directly. So talking about life cycle of view model. So whenever first activity is created, so on create, on start, on resume is called. Whenever activity is rotated, on pause, on stop, and on destroy is called. And then again, a new instance of activity is created. So as I said, whenever you rotate your phone, activity gets destroyed, and again it is created. So again, on create, on start, and on resume will be called. View model, as you can see, view model is created only first time, and during the configuration changes, it is not created 1 second. Its data remains as it is, and it is not the data doesn't change, like what was happening during the new activity instance, like what was happening during rotation activity, like whole code was rewritten again and the data was being lost. But as we are storing the data in view model now, so it won't be lost, and you would have the data stored in it as well. So whenever you would go configuration changes, that is whenever you would rotate the screen, data would remain constant and it would be shown as it is, like score and word count and everything would remain. And whenever you would exit the app, like it is the final step, like you are exiting the app and you have removed it totally, then on cleared of view model is called, and view model is restored. So that is the activity life cycle. So that is the life cycle of view model. Okay, I hope that you understood what is view model. Next, we would be talking about live data. So what is live data basically? So live data is an observable data holder class that is life cycle aware. So basically, if you define something as a live data, so if the here has for live data type of it, so here it is defined as live data. So whenever there would be changes in the life cycle aware, it would directly read it and make changes accordingly. So it means it basically can observe life cycle changes and changes its value accordingly. I'll give an example where it is used and how it was used. So here, solution code of this final code lab. Your current scramble word. What they have said basically is, okay, so this is the whenever score changes, like whenever you click on submit button or whenever you click on skip button, you want your word to be changed on the screen, right? So there is a function for it. It is custom made. So they have written this function, update next word on screen. Yeah. So it basically looks for new word, and it replaces the old word with the new word. So this is what the function does. Okay. So what here you can see that this function was called many times. Time it is called on create. So whenever first time the app is run, you have to display some word. So this is the first time the word is this function is called. Second time, whenever you are submitting the word, like you are clicking on submit, then this function is again called. Again, whenever you are skipping it, then this function is called. And yeah, and on restart game also this function is called. So as you can see, there is a repetition of this function, and it has been used too many times, right? So how live data solves this problem? So if you make it a live data, so it would directly observe the value. So this is how you will just first tell you what how you can write the code with live data. Okay, so in the view model, you would have to make these changes. So like whatever we were defining them as like this, right? So we were only giving them data type. Right? If it is int, then we were giving int and string like that way. But now if you are using live data, then you have to define them as live data. So it would be live data of the data type int. So and similarly, it is int again string and that way. So yeah, so these are the live data now. It is not actually integer, but it is live data, and live data is storing its value. In fragment, this is how you observe the value of the variable. So first, yeah, as usual, you define the say view model. You initialize the view model in the fragment. You have to set now life cycle owner. So as I said, it is a life cycle aware. Live data are life cycle aware. View model is life cycle, like it looks for life cycle, and live data is life cycle aware. So you have to supply the activity like you are reading for. So if I am using this fragment, using this view model or this content of view model to read the content of game view fragment, then you have to address the view model that this is the fragment that I am trying to read. So for that, there's thing called as life cycle owner. So you have to give the life cycle owner to the observe method of live data. So current scramble word here was live data, as you can see, and you're observing it, and you have to pass the view life cycle owner. So this is so it would start tracking the life cycle of this fragment. That is how it is. And then you have to write the code here. This is the lambda that you are getting. So here you would be getting the new word, that is whatever the word is changed, and that is how you would be what to say, updating the text of the word. So doing this only you have to write this much code. The 3 times we were calling that of unscramble update the update text word, that won't be needed, because whenever the values would be changes of current scramble, it would automatically change the UI as well. So that is how we live data works. Next is about, so coming to the shared view model now. Right now we just talked about view model. So it was only specific to fragment. So if fragment is closed, then the fragment is lost, then the view model is also destroyed and data is also lost. But consider that you are on the shopping app. So here this is again one more app that you would be building in the fourth pathway. So consider that this is a shopping app. You are ordering cupcakes and everything. So there are multiple screens. So you would be adding flavor. You would be selecting flavor. You would be selecting the pickup date. You would be selecting that, and then you would be getting the summary fragment. So consider that at this point in the summary fragment, you thought that this is too much, or you want to increase the quantity or decrease the quantity. So you would go back to the back screen, right? You would come back to the back screen. But if you would see here that all the data that you selected previously, like whatever date or anything you selected, it is lost now. It is not visible. So it won't be good, right? So you have to store that data as well. So you have to. So basically, in this app, you have to store data among different fragments. So this is where shared view model comes in, and uh, writing its code about its code. So it is same. While writing the code for view model, you would be writing similar on whatever values you want to keep, whatever values you want to store on configuration changes or on the screen changes. You would define them in the view model. This code would remain same. It would be written in the same way, but only difference is while calling the view model in the fragment. So here we were calling it this way. It was private val view model, game view model by view models. It was view models, right? Here you would be writing activity view models. So here, basically fragment and activity. So activity is one major screen, like main activity. It is called like you can. It is a what should I say? It is consider it as a parent screen, and there are fragments, and these fragments are its child screen. So these all fragments are based on or based on activity. So when an activity would be closed, all fragments would be destroyed. That is how fragment and activity. So by defining your activity view models, you are defining the view model for the activity, which covers all the fragments that were there in the activity. So view model is applied on all fragments. So that is why whenever you would change the screen, you would be changing fragments. So all these screens are basically fragment. And so data would be stored whenever you would change the screen, because you have applied the view model to the activity and not the specific fragments or each screen. So that is how shared view model is. And uh, yeah, that is a Cupcake. You will be developing a different app for shared view model. This game view model, like game fragment, this is the only for view models. So there are two separate apps. You would how to, yeah, as I said, how to. Now let's talk about navigation backstack. Okay. So if you might know what is stack, data structure stack. So whenever new item is pushed into the stack, it comes to the bottom of it. And like, sorry, whenever an item is pushed, it is pushed to the bottom of it. And whenever new item is pushed, it is pushed on top of it. So whenever you would be pulling out something, the newest inserted item would get out. Okay, so it is basically like a piles of like a pile of coins. So you are putting one coin on another, and whenever you want to remove, the latest inserted coin would be removed. So that is how stack data structure is. Similarly, activities are arranged in stack known as backstack, where each new activity the user visits gets pushed onto the backstack, and the backstack is useful for whenever the user wants to navigate to the uh, navigate backwards. So whatever whenever you are pressing back button, or like the back arrow key, or like the back button from your bottom nav, basically that is when navigation backstack is in work, and the latest activities, like the latest screen that you are seeing, it would be popped out, and the screen that was used before, that would be launched again. So I'll just give one more. So, so this is the, as I said, this is the start fragment. So this is the starting screen. So as I said, there are fragments and activities. So this is the main activity, and on top of that, this start fragment screen is there. This is the fragment. Whenever on screen is launched, this is the first screen that we will see, and that is the start fragment that is pushed into the backstack. Okay. Whenever you would click on one of these options, one cupcake or the quantity of cupcakes, and you would be redirected to the next screen to choose the flavor and all. So here, as you can see, new activity, like new fragment is pushed onto the backstack. So if you would click on this back button here, then you would be sent back to start fragment. So this flavor fragment would be pushed out, popped out, and the start fragment would reappear. So that is how backstack works. Again, if you will go navigate again in forward direction from this screen, then pickup fragment would come, and again it would be pushed into the backstack. Similarly, again summary fragment, and now if you would press the back button from here, then summary fragment would be popped out, and then you will again come to the pickup fragment. And similarly, if you keep pressing back buttons, you would eventually land on the starting screen, and then these all fragments will be popped out. So that is how backstack basically works, and this is mainly for using back button. So it is for its main functionality is for back button. But now consider that you came to summary fragment, and you don't want to, what we say, don't want to change anything, but you just want to cancel the order, right? So you don't want to do anything, but you directly want to cancel the order, and then you directly redirect it to this starting fragment. Once you cancel the order, you don't want to be landing on any of these screens, right? So once you cancel the order, you would directly come on this screen. So there are functions for it, there are methods for it. that are pop. So as right now only basic pop was going, and but here we have pop up to. So, yeah. So whenever you define this app pop up to this method, uh, so what it would do is like if you specify this, and if you say that you have to pop up to start fragment, then whenever you would like call this method on the cancel button, click this, no, then all the methods like this was the backstack, right? So all these fragments would be removed and you would directly jump on with the start fragment. So all the uh, fragments, so from summary fragment to start fragments, pop up to start fragments, so all the fragments between them would be popped up. So that is what this method means, pop up. And there is one more, that is pop up to inclusive. So if it is set to true, then pop up to inclusive. So here pop up to, it was start fragment. So all the fragments between this were removed. And if you specify pop up to inclusive, then start fragment will also be removed. That's how you would get to know more about it whenever you would be completing this. Yeah, so that was the major of the concepts that I wanted to. You would definitely learn more whenever you would be doing this course. I only took the concepts on surface level, and you would get to know more whenever you would be reading. And yeah, I actually recommend you to read it thoroughly because these are important concepts as a developer. And yeah, these are the unit testing. Yeah, this is not a concept, I would say. It is just they have added this. Actually, this was not there last year. They have added it newly, and yeah. So it is just how it is just they are just teaching you how to write tests for unit test for checking the live data and view model and everything. So yeah, you can go through it and you will get to know these are basic syntax and basic tasks that you want to do. So I hope that you understood whatever I was teaching, and thank you for listening. If you have any doubts, you can post them in the Q&A chat, and we would be taking the Q&A session. I guess we can conclude the session. Again, once again, thanks for joining. It actually went too much late, but still, thanks for staying here, and hope you have gained something, and hope you have understood the concepts. You would definitely get to understand more when you would be doing that lesson yourself. So again, thanks once again, thanks for joining, and hope to see you in next session.